This is what these massacres and race riots have always been about. It's never been about killing black people for the sake of killing black people. It's always been about destroying black economies operating independent of white society. It's always been about destroying businesses. It's always been about annihilating your source of wealth in order to keep you woefully dependent on the dominant white society. I wanted to take a quick moment to talk about this young brother by the name of Deon Kay, who was killed by Washington, D.C. police very recently. Now, upon his killing, many people began protesting his death. The Black Lives Matter crowd started protesting his death, as long as other organizations began to protest in front of the house of the mayor, demanding that the mayor defund the police or resign. But as soon as the body cam footage was released, showing that Deon Kay was actually armed, he had a gun and he pulled it out. It was at that moment that the BLM crowd, as well as all the other protesters, they dropped Deon Kay like a hot potato. They dropped him with the quickness. At that moment, Deon Kay's life didn't matter anymore. But I'm here to tell you that despite the fact that Deon Kay was armed, his life very much so still did matter. Now, let's be honest for a moment. You see, you can't have these kind of conversations if you're not going to be honest. Because if you're not going to be honest, then we're all just wasting time. So let's be honest. If you were the cop in that situation, granted you watched the body cam video, you would have done the same thing. Now, before you get triggered, hold on, just walk with me for a second, all right? Because I know that triggered you. Just walk with me. You see, because we have the luxury of hindsight being 20/20, as well as slow motion body cam footage. So me sitting comfortably in my home, I can sit here and analyze the footage and say, look, I get that he was armed, but you can see that Deon Kay was clearly attempting to throw the gun away. He was trying to ditch the gun. And it's true. He was trying to ditch the gun. That's what he was attempting to do. Not shoot somebody.
That was about 10 seconds. It happened fast, so we're going to slow it down for you to show you what the officer was seeing. Take a look again. As the officer is getting out of the car, you can see the black crossover SUV that they initially saw in that social media video. You can see 18-year-old Deon Kay in a white shirt and blue jeans. At this point, you can see Kay with a handgun in his right hand. Right before he shot, you can see that gun leave his hand in what appears to be Kay throwing the gun.
The reality is that if you were the cop in that very moment, you're not trying to figure out whether or not he's trying to ditch the gun. The moment somebody pulls a gun on you, if you got yours, you're taking a shot. That's just the reality of it. But that doesn't mean that Deon Kay's life still didn't matter. Because if we're going to keep being honest, the fact of the matter is that this should have never been Deon's reality to begin with. You see, everybody's talking about Black Lives Matter, Black Lives Matter, Black Lives Matter. But you know what else matters? History matters also. White people, I know you're triggered if you're listening. You hate talking about history. I know. It could be something that happened last week and you don't want to hear nothing about it. And I get it. I get it. You don't want to be constantly reminded that white society as a whole has been built on one giant handout. You want to pretend that the reason that white people own and control everything in this country is because of hard work, perseverance, and dedication. Now, that's a lie. It's not true. And you know it's not true, but that's what you'd like to believe. So let's not talk about history. You want to pretend that white folks as a whole are where they are because of hard work and dedication, while black people have been lazy their entire existence, and that's why they are where they are. But you know that's a lie just as much as I know that's a lie. You see, Deon Kay's reality should have never been that of a young brother that was born and raised in the hood. Should have never been his reality. Because when you start going through history and you start understanding what created a sequence of events that now created Deon Kay's reality, you see that throughout the course of history, post-slavery, had the dominant white society had simply just left black people alone. At this point in time, as opposed to having thousands of black ghettos all across America, there will be thousands of middle class and upper middle class black neighborhoods. But the fact of the matter is that they didn't leave you alone. Anytime you built a city for yourself and it was thriving, they destroyed it over and over and over again. We all know about Tulsa and Rosewood. Those are the most popular ones talked about, but we all too often don't speak on the Elaine, Arkansas massacre, the Atlanta massacre, the Colfax, Louisiana massacre, the Wilmington, North Carolina massacre, the Ocoee, Florida massacre. And of course, we can't forget about the Washington race riot of 1919. The Washington race riot of 1919 was civil unrest in Washington, D.C. from July 19th, 1919 to July 24th, 1919. Starting July 19th, white men, many in the United States Army, United States Navy, and United States Marine Corps, responded to the rumored arrest of a black man for the rape of a white woman with 4 days of mob violence against black individuals and businesses. Understand, the reason I have businesses highlighted in a different color is to highlight the fact that this is what these massacres and race riots have always been about. It's never been about killing black people for the sake of killing black people. It's always been about destroying black economies operating independent of white society. It's always been about destroying businesses. It's always been about annihilating your source of wealth in order to keep you woefully dependent on the dominant white society. In my past videos, I've gone in great details to talk to you about contract buying in the city of Chicago, where the dominant white society literally created the neighborhoods that you see in Chicago today that so many love to hold up and say, what about black on black crime? Those neighborhoods in Chicago where you see these crazy figures of 70 people shot in one weekend, those same neighborhoods should have been middle class or upper middle class neighborhoods. But because the dominant white society just could not leave you alone and just couldn't be fair. And as it pertains to Chicago, we're talking about in between the years of 1950 and 1970, a 20-year period in which $20 billion in black wealth was stolen. You see, this is why history matters. All the dominant white society ever had to do was leave you alone and or be fair, but they couldn't. And as a result of that, as I stated earlier, as opposed to having literally hundreds of thousands of thriving middle class to upper middle class black neighborhoods, instead what you have is hundreds of thousands of black ghettos, producing the reality that Deon Kay was born into, which ultimately led to his death. This should have never been Deon Kay's reality. Deon Kay's life still matters. And the only way you're going to prevent more situations like this from happening is not by defunding the police. Stop talking to me about that. Defunding the police is not going to stop anything as long as the environment that creates the behavior still exists. What black folks need, and particularly the descendants of American slavery need, is reparations and a comprehensive black agenda. That's what you need. Anything else outside of that is a waste of time. It is a waste of time. And to all the young brothers and sisters that are listening to this message right now, I want you to do something, all right? When you see these white liberals, what I want you to do is go talk to your white liberal allies that for them, all of a sudden, they've come to the realization that Black Lives Matter. Go ask them about reparations. Go ask them how they feel about reparations in the form of cash payments alongside other government programs. Ask them that and watch how quickly Black lives don't matter anymore. You watch how fast they start hitting you with the yeah, but. You watch how fast the yeah, buts come out. Start talking about reparations in the form of cash payments and watch how quickly Black lives don't matter anymore. Most of the people that you see out here talking about Black Lives Matter have ulterior motives that have nothing to do with the empowerment of black people. It's gotten to the point now that every time I see a so-called Black Lives Matter protest rally, I can't even find black people in the rally. Black Lives Matter and all the other organizations like it are just using this moment to take advantage of the death of young black men in order to further their own political agendas. None of it has anything to do with the empowerment of black people. That's why none of them will call for reparations, but what they will do is talk about defunding the police. Meanwhile, collecting millions of dollars in donations, only for the black community to see none of that money. You cannot find Black Lives Matter on the south side of Chicago. You cannot find Black Lives Matter in South Central LA. They are nowhere to be found, let alone any of these other organizations that don't consist of black people. What you need is reparations to break the cycle of poverty and confusion that you're currently lost in. And any other conversation outside of that is simply a waste of time. And with all that being said, thank you for tuning into today's video. Make sure you hit that subscribe button as well as the bell notification next to the subscribe button so you can be notified whenever I release a new video. Also, make sure you text tdhiphop to number 33222. That is tdhiphop to number 33222. That way you'll get a direct text notification whenever I release a new video. But it also serves as a protection plan for myself in case YouTube ever gives this channel the axe. I will be able to send you a direct link to where you can find me next. All social media links will be in the description below as well as pinned in the comment section. And lastly, but certainly not least, for those of you who have been subscribed to this channel for quite some time now, have a love and appreciation for the work that I put in on this channel, the #1 way you can show your support to me is through Patreon for only $5 a month. That helps put me in position to be able to take TD Hip Hop Media off of YouTube. Remember, the goal is to grow independent of YouTube, not big on YouTube. Until the next video, peace.